to our forum. I'm thrilled to see how many people are here, although frankly, if you count all the candidates and their significant comrades, that's certainly half the room. But I am really pleased that we have JAM here this evening to record this forum, and that will be another way to share it out. So if you know people who are really interested in the information, who aren't here this evening, we're recording it on Zoom, but they're professionals recording it. And so you just Google JAM, and I'm sure it will show up. So my name's Deb Nelson. I chair the Hanover-Lyme Town Democrats, and this is a busy and wonderful and stressful and exciting and draining and stressful primary season. And it will end on Tuesday, thank goodness. I was told that my laptop is probably very democratic, and I think that's perfectly fine if you are looking at it from the other side. Good. So I am going to thank JAM, first of all, for coming. Thank all the candidates who are here, and then I am going to turn the mic over to my colleague. I want Mary Hacken-Phillips, who is a candidate for state rep, but I want to make sure everybody who is speaking tonight knows that this little thing that's strapped here on the microphone is how JAM is picking up your remarks, so please don't put your hand over it, because that will be a problem. Okay?
Thanks, Deb. So welcome, everybody. Tonight's speakers, we have a lineup up for you with a few folks. Those are Michael Liberty, Karen Leo Hill, Jill Myers, Eric James, and Michael Tamulonis, Corinne Morse, Mike Cryans, Jason Ninos, Terry Grimes, Colin Van Osteren, and Maggie Goodlander. Our other candidates here in the room might be the other state reps running for office. Here, the Hanover State, or the Hanover and Lyme District. For myself, Russell Muirhead, Ellen Rockmore, and Terry Spar. If you're here, could you just give a wave, team? Thanks. And then if there are any former elected officials in the room, if you could also wave. I've seen Polly Campion in the house, but anybody else, please give a wave.
Excuse me, I'm your current Registrar of Deeds, and you didn't even mention my name.
Yes, thank you. It looks like we have another guest. Kelly Monahan, the current registrar, is also here. And then I just wanted to quickly introduce our Hanover field rep for the Organized New Hampshire office that you may see working out of the Lebanon office over in the Wheelock Park office building.
Yes, 31 Old Etna Road.
31 Old Etna Road. Thank you, Joey Paris. So with that,
Up behind.
yes, up behind Wilson Tire. Thank you. So with that, I just wanted to open tonight's event by reading through the Grafton County Democrats' ground rules for public events, which have been shared with the candidates in advance of this evening. So in public gatherings sponsored by the Grafton County Democrats, including our event tonight, we will treat everyone with respect. That means listening carefully, not interrupting, and avoiding personal attacks. No shaming, blaming, or threats. Help all voices to be heard. That means sharing speaking time equitably among presenters and supporting opportunities for audience members who wish to question or comment. No dominating or talking over others. Disagree without being disagreeable. That means expressing opposing opinions in a constructive way. No rudeness, jeering, or disruption. And recognize the leader's right to conduct the gathering. That means complying with requests and reminders from the event's hosts, facilitator, or leadership team, especially concerning behavior that violates these ground rules. So thanks everybody for entertaining that. And with that, I think we'll start with our first round of candidates with the Executive Council office. And by order of previous designation, I believe that is Karen Leo Hill will be our first speaker. Karen.
And as I understand it, we have 7 minutes each.
Thank you. I was just gonna say that.
Okay. Don't count that against my time.
Right, I won't.
I'm just letting everyone know. That's what we were told. Okay, great. Good evening. My name is Karen Leo Hill. I'm a 20-year city councilor and the former mayor of Lebanon, just next door. For the last 8 years, I've also served as Grafton County Treasurer, and I am excited to be stepping up to run for Executive Council District 2, following in the footsteps of Cindy Warmington, and also Andy Valinsky, Colin Van Ostern, and since part of District 2 used to be part of District 1, also Mike Cryans and Ray Burton, who was the first executive counselor that I knew. On the campaign trail, I've been sharing the story of my mother, Lynn, who died when I was 6 years old. She was 33, and she had cervical cancer, the kind of cancer that is typically discovered in routine reproductive health care, the kind of health care that Republicans on the Executive Council have been voting to defund repeatedly. Now, when my father was left with 3 kids under the age of 7, he was able to keep our family and his small roofing business afloat thanks to the help of Social Security. And if you watched the Democratic convention, you might have heard Tim Walz, our future vice president, talk about how Social Security survivor benefits helped his family through a hard time like they helped mine. Later on, as a young single college student facing an unplanned pregnancy, my daughter Marina was born 10 weeks early, and I was able to go back to college and finish my studies here at Dartmouth with an infant thanks to the help of Medicaid that covered her 5-week stay in the neonatal intensive care unit. I know firsthand the power of government to improve people's lives. It's why I've dedicated my career to public service. It's why I'm so passionate about government, and it's why I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to bring my skills, my knowledge, and my experience to the state level as executive counselor. So what is the Executive Council? It is unique to New Hampshire. Here's my prop. You might remember Andy Valinsky with his big stick when he was on the trail. I've got my own prop. And the Executive Council is unique to New Hampshire. It's an additional check and balance on the governor. The state is divided into 5 districts. I think of it like a big city council for the entire state. And when I talk about the Executive Council, I use the word CARS. Stands for contracts, appointments, roads, and services. So contracts. All state spending over $10,000 is voted on by the Executive Council. Now, as a city councilor, I know budgets. And as county treasurer, it's been my job to get the best deal for taxpayers, and I am prepared to do that taxpayer oversight at the state level. A is for appointments, and this is appointments to all state boards and committees, the commissioners of state agencies like Frank Edelblut, whose term comes up in March of 2025 and must be replaced with someone who actually believes in public education. All judicial appointments, I would say clap, but I don't want to use it against my time. All judicial appointments also go through the Executive Council. And in the context of a super conservative supermajority on the United States Supreme Court unraveling the role of the federal government in protecting our fundamental constitutional rights and civil liberties, these judicial appointments at the state level are more important than ever for protecting reproductive rights, environmental regulations, LGBTQ+ protections, voting rights, consumer rights. All of these are going to be fought. The front lines are here at the state level, and these judicial appointments matter more than ever. R is for roads. Now, the state's 10-year highway plan is the responsibility of the Executive Council. Roads, bridges, airports, trains, and public transportation, they're all put into a 10-year plan, updated every 2 years, and the executive councilors hold hearings throughout their districts so that they can understand what the local priorities are, whether it's here in the Upper Valley, in Concord, down to Keene and Peterborough, or up to Littleton and Bethlehem. I know how the state's 10-year highway plan works. I've advocated for projects on behalf of Lebanon and our area successfully, and I'm prepared to do that on behalf of the 81 cities and towns of District 2. S is for services, and a lot of the work of the Executive Council happens outside of the formal business meetings. It's being a liaison for people to state government, helping individuals, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and municipalities get the answers, the information, and the services they need from state government. That's the kind of work I've been doing for the last 20 years, constituent services, and I'm ready to do that at the state level. I've been working on the most pressing issues facing our state for the last 20 years, from helping to guide my community through the global economic crisis when I was mayor in 2008 and 2009, working alongside Governor Lynch, whose support I am proud to have in this race, to fighting climate change, which has been one of my main priorities on the City Council. Lebanon, I signed on to the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement, and Lebanon has been a leader in the state on sustainability, including being a founding member of the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which has already saved residents millions of dollars. And I'm excited about what we can do when we make fighting climate change a priority at the state level. Housing, childcare, these are the things that I have been working on, and I'm happy to answer questions if we have time for that. But in conclusion, we have a choice to make on Tuesday, September 10th, and because of the heavy gerrymandering of the Executive Council districts, making our district a safe blue seat, this race on Tuesday will decide who the next executive counselor for our district will be. And I invite you to consider these 3 things as you make your choice. 1, my experience. I have 20 years of service at local and county levels. State government is something I know, and I am ready on day 1. Secondly, I haven't just been an elected official for the last 20 years. I've also been a dedicated Democratic activist. I became a Democrat during the Dean campaign. Many of you might remember those days. And I have been working to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, working with many of you over the years. And I am ready to be a leader for Democrats at the state level. Lastly, this race is our chance to guarantee that there is at least one Democratic woman at the Executive Council table, no matter what happens in November. Emily's List agrees, and that's why they've endorsed me in this race. So I am here tonight to ask for your vote on September 10th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. And again, I will maybe be a little bit more obvious, like I was in the classroom in the back, going like this. I'll give you the 1-minute mark, and then I'll give you a 30-second mark. So speaking of marks, actually our second candidate is Mike. So Mike Liberty, would you come up? And I am out of the screen while I was standing behind the desk. So if you're going to be here, that's fine, but I just want to make sure people at home can see you.
Okay. Thanks, Deb. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here tonight. I am Mike Liberty, running for Executive Council here in District 2. There's a couple things that I want to make sure that you know about me by the time I'm done with this, and that's what do I stand for and what do I want to get done. First, though, I want to make sure that I mention I really feel like New Hampshire made me who I am today. That's a big reason why I'm running. It has shaped my values, and it's why me and my wife Frances are raising our 3 girls here today in New London. So first off, what do I stand for? In a word, fairness. I'll take you back to 2011 to give you an example of that. So I was working at PayPal at the time, had just graduated from Stanford with my MBA, and my wife was doing her residency at Children's Hospital Oakland. And I was coming at a meeting with a colleague of mine. His name is Raj, and the subject of that meeting was just how many of our small business customers were being put out of business, literally because they were under attack by international crime rings committing credit card fraud. And the decisions of the higher-ups at PayPal was that while we could do something about it, we weren't going to do anything about it because we didn't make money on credit card transactions and we didn't make money off of small businesses. And that struck me and my co-founder as wrong and profoundly unfair. So we decided, hey, we think that we can solve this problem. We're going to see if we can. We don't exactly know how, but we're going to see if we can build a business, around this and help these folks. And over the next 13 years, just through relentless effort and dedication to those values, We built a company that became one of the largest fraud prevention companies in the world. Today, we protect over 5,000 businesses, we employ about 500 people, and we've stopped about $10 billion in credit card fraud that would have surely destroyed many people's lives, and I'm very, very proud of that work. As if that wasn't difficult enough, right in the middle of that, I was diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer. This was 2016, and I made it through that, but I was only able to get the care that I needed because my wife practices gender-affirming care, and she was familiar with battling insurance companies, and although I had good health insurance, they still denied the radiation treatment that my doctors were recommending. So it was, again, another profoundly unfair experience because not everyone has that resource. That's why I'm running for the Executive Council. I want to bring a little more fairness, and I want to bring a little more accessibility and accountability to our state agencies. All right, so you believe in fairness, right? All right, got it. What do you actually want to get done? So I do believe in setting priorities, and I'll lay out 3 of mine. First, the biggest economic issue that we are facing in this state is affordable housing. Home prices are up anywhere from 65 to 80%, depending on what numbers you look at, in the last 6 years. We are building 70% fewer homes than when I was growing up here in the 80s and 90s. All right? The market on this is broken. And what I think we need to do is pull every lever that we have to solve this problem at the state level. That starts with federal grants, making sure that they are going towards affordable housing projects, but also I think we need to leverage the 10-year transportation plan in an intelligent way. What do I mean by that? A housing-oriented transportation agenda. So there's a program that's put in place just this year called the Housing Champions Program, optional program that communities can apply for. What I think we need to do is link that towards your priority position on the 10-year transportation plan. Give our different communities incentives to allow those small lot houses that we so critically need for our retirees and working families, and let them know that if you invest in New Hampshire will invest back in you. Second priority, public education. All right, personnel is policy, and all personnel goes through the Executive Council. Frank Edelblu's term is up in March 2025. I want to be there at the hearing to make sure that we get a commissioner of education that actually believes in public education, that is going to advocate for the 85% of our kids that are in public schools, that is going to call out the unfair funding system that we have that is heavily based on local property taxes. Now, the other thing related to the Executive Council with respect to education are the court system. Our system of funding in this state is so unfair that it has been declared unconstitutional multiple times over, and we are still battling these fights in the courts that we were fighting when I was growing up here. This is a 40-year thing. Everyone's familiar with the Claremont decision. Now we've got the Conval case that's going through the courts right now. And on that case, an amicus brief, in my understanding, was just filed that is seeking to overturn the original Claremont decision, which established that every kid in this state has a constitutional right to an adequate education. Third on my list, I want to see reproductive rights defended in this state. And what I mean by that is we need to get the New Hampshire family planning contracts reinstated. These are contracts that provide low-income women across the state with primary care, STD screenings, cancer screenings. All right, this is just good pragmatic policy, but as we've seen, the Executive Council an extreme ideology has voted these contracts down 5 consecutive times. To get those reinstated, we need to win. And whoever serves in this district needs to recognize that it's not just about this district. It's about capturing the other districts so we have a majority. Second, I want to see someone in that room holding the Attorney General accountable. Right now, we do have an abortion ban in this state. That gives the Attorney General a prosecutorial discretion to say whether or not an abortion past 24 weeks was medically necessary, to second-guess doctors. And what I want to see, or I want to be in that room so I can throw sand in the gears if they ever prosecute a woman or a doctor for doing what they deem as a medically necessary procedure. So with that, I invite you to go to electliberty.com. I am happy to be endorsed in this race by former Senate President Sylvia Larson, Congressman Sweat, former State Senator Martha Hennessy, who represents Hanover. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So the plan here is to let everybody have a chance to speak, and then we are going to break up so that you can eat, have a snack, ask questions of individual candidates. Depending on our timetable, we may, sorry, people on Zoom. Depending on our timetable, we may be able to take some questions from the group as a whole, but we want to move along through the different candidates who are here waiting. So I will, we are now going to move to our 3 candidates for sheriff.
Yeah. Thanks, Deb. So each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak, and we're going to start with Jill Myers. Is Jill present? There she is. Thanks, Joe. 3 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. As she said, I'm Jill Myers. I'm running for Grafton County Sheriff. Just a little bit about me, because 3 minutes will go by fast. I went to Plymouth State University. I was born and raised in Grafton County. I've been here for 30 years. My family, my friends are here. I love the North Country, care about it insanely. So I went to Plymouth, graduated with a criminal justice degree, minor in sociology. After that, I started my career in law enforcement with Littleton. I've got over 8 years of experience in law enforcement now, and in that time I've been promoted 4 times into leadership roles, detective, sergeant, special investigator. So I also did some time at the Grafton County Sheriff's Department, in which time I was a sergeant there. I trained a number of different new officers who were there, really pushed for proactive policing, which, to be honest, before I went to the Sheriff's Department, I didn't really know much about it. You don't really see them very often, other than for prisoner transports from your facility to the jail or at the courthouse. So when I got to the Sheriff's Department, I absolutely loved it. I loved that I wasn't stuck in one town and that I could go and touch every community throughout the county. And it really opened my eyes to how many resources we don't have across the county, to include a number of communities that have a 1 to 2 man police department, even smaller fire departments, no EMS. So it really just opened my eyes. I was able to network with a lot of people during my almost 2 years at the Sheriff's Department. And then I went back to Littleton, and that's where I'm a special investigator. So I've worked with anyone battling addiction problems, which is a huge, huge thing for us right now. The fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is huge. There's no more heroin. Fentanyl, carfentanil, it's being laced into pills. It's being laced into marijuana. It's just so dangerous. It's being laced into cocaine. We just actually recently had a triple fatal overdose in Littleton, and it's really just sad that this is happening. So really we need more resources for those folks. And the other thing is, I've worked with a lot of victims of domestic and sexual abuse, and the same thing goes for them. There's no resources. And then the other end of it would be those dealing with mental health illnesses. Again, big problem. Not a lot of resources, especially in the North Country. So during my time at the Sheriff's Department, I got to see the rest of the county and how that's a struggle for all the other communities throughout the county. And that's why I'm running for sheriff. I really want to see the Sheriff's Department try to regionalize with all these communities that have less resources, small departments or no departments. Currently, the state police are 40 to 50 positions short right now. Everyone's having an issue with finding help. I mean, that's not just law enforcement, that's any job right now. And is my time up? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So just, I'll be around for questions if you have questions after. So I just ask for your support on Tuesday.
Thank you. I'm trying to do this kind of arm up for 1 minute left, and then as you see me start approaching, getting closer and closer, that's your signal. So, Mary, do you want, I don't have my list in front of me.
Sure.
Beg your pardon.
Next up is Eric James. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I'm going to piggyback, because 3 minutes is going to go extremely quick. I'll piggyback directly off what Jill said about regionalization. But yes, my name is Eric James. My legal name is Frederick. My business cards are going to hand out say Frederick James, but on the ballot it says Eric, and that's the name I ask you to remember on Tuesday as I seek your vote for Grafton County Sheriff. A little bit about me. I'm going to have to fly right through this. I'm from Thornton, New Hampshire. I went to Holderness Prep School. I got a degree from Roger Williams University in business administration with a minor in finance. After graduating, I moved back to Grafton County, back to Thornton, when I got my first law enforcement job for the Waterville Valley Department of Public Safety. I worked as a police officer, firefighter, and EMT for approximately 6.5 years. In Waterville, before I realized I wanted to focus my efforts directly on law enforcement, and I took a position with the Grafton County Sheriff's Department in 2002. Since that time, hold it up a little bit higher. Gotcha. Thank you. For 22 plus years, I've worked for the Grafton County Sheriff's Department. It's been an amazing ride. Fantastic opportunities. I've worked for 3 sheriffs. I've been promoted through the ranks. I have gone from deputy to detective, detective to sergeant, sergeant to lieutenant, lieutenant to captain. I was very fortunate to retire from full-time service last year after 27.5 years working for the state of New Hampshire here in Grafton County, at least in the New Hampshire retirement system. And after my 30-day leave of absence, which is mandated by statute, I came back again to the Sheriff's Department, again as number 2 in the agency, a supervisor in the agency, but assigned as an investigator with New Hampshire Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. It is fantastic work. I love my job. I work chasing child predators every single day, and that's what I've been doing for roughly 10 years. So at the Sheriff's Department, I was commander of the Criminal Investigation Division. I took on complex investigations involving public officials, police officers, firefighters, elected officials, all those cases that other people wouldn't or couldn't handle. We took those on in my unit. Additionally, we became experts as a regional resource for child exploitation. We do both proactive and reactive investigations for the New Hampshire ICAC, the Internet Crimes Unit, and we've been able to hold dozens, more than dozens, maybe hundreds of predators accountable for their actions. It's been just an absolutely amazing experience. So she's approaching me already. We've developed a computer forensic unit, which is one of a kind for the region, and the main reason why I'm running for office, and I'm going to have business cards for everyone so you get more of my experience, but the reason why I'm running for office, because I never had a vision of running for the corner office. The dedicated staff at the Grafton County Sheriff's Department, 80+%, have said, Eric, we want you to run. If they weren't asking me and they didn't have my back, I wouldn't be standing here asking for your vote on Tuesday. So thank you very much. I've got business cards. Please do your research, make an educated decision.
Excellent, thank you. So our last candidate for sheriff is Michael Tamulonis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so September 10th, right around the corner. This is probably going to be my last speaking engagement till that date. So instead of giving you my normal spiel, I'm going to speak off topic. You know how people get in trouble when they speak off topic. But there's some things I want to get off my chest. When I started this campaign, the incumbent told me about how stressed it's going to be, how strenuous, how labor intensive. He didn't tell me how much fun I was going to have. He didn't tell me all the friends I was going to make and all the connections. And I'm having a great time. I was on vacation last week. I missed it. I did. But there's some things I need to say, and if you want to hear my spiel about my job and my experience, I'll come to me later, or go to my website, or read the papers. But this is some things I want to get some thank yous out. First thank you, foremost, Eric and Jill. Thank you very much, personally and professionally and publicly. We kept it clean, we kept it professional, we kept it friendly. Thank you very much for that. Sue Ford, she partaked a lot of wisdom to me. I got to thank her for that too. To the Dems, all the Dems, the Leb Dems, Hanover Lyme, Plymouth, Mascoma Forward, Campton Forward, Grafton County, Upper Valley. I'm sure I missed some, but their support and inspiration kept me going. Amy Deese. Did anybody know Amy? Amy Deese from the Plymouth office. I describe her as a hummingbird on Red Bull. If I had 6 of her working for me, I'd be governor by now. She was awesome. My family, my kids, my grandkids, support, awesome. My wife, this is my wife. Get emotional. But she has been big help. She's been with me at all these events, kicking me in the butt when I need it. I've been dragging her, and on some days she's been dragging me. But she's been there with me all the way. This has almost like been if you elect me, you're getting both of us. I mean, it's been a real team effort. My last comment I want to make is to all the candidates. No matter who gets elected, but I'm pretty sure it's all going to be Democrat. But when you get to your office, surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with smart people. Because I know I'm not the smartest person at the Grafton County Sheriff's Office. I know it. And if you think that you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a list.
Oh, thanks. So our next group of candidates will be the treasurer candidates, and by order of previously assigned designation, current state rep Corinne Morris will go first.
And I just want to assure you that we are not going down in length of time to speak and leaving the 2 congressional candidates with about a minute. So we will bounce back. So please be patient.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a hard one to follow up. Thank you very much for saying all of those thank yous that are so necessary. So I just want to tell you a little bit about who I am, why I'm running. I'm Representative Morris. I was elected in 2022 to serve Grafton 9, which is Canaan, Dorchester, and Orange. I also serve as the Canaan Democrats treasurer, and I'm on the budget committee for the Mascoma School District, as well as numerous other boards and committees in Canaan, Planning Board and Economic Development Committee, and so on. During my time as a representative, I served on the executive council or executive committee for the delegation for Grafton County, working closely with the administrators and the treasurer and commissioners, working through the budget, looking at how much money we have, going through, department heads and budgeting, and, Kelly Monahan and so many others were there working through to make sure that we were balancing the budget to the best of our ability to make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for your buck as Grafton County residents. And during my time there, I really realized that county work is where my passion is. The state work, while it's incredibly important, and I'm unbelievably grateful to my community to have elected me there, what I really discovered was I enjoyed going to the county. I really enjoyed doing that work, and it's something that I would like to do for a long time. Another thing about me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I plan to take a year off, have a baby, and finish my teaching degree and get back to work. Our son was born with special needs, which sort of took me in a different path. And so I've been home with 2 kids for a decade now, and a lot of that has given me a lot of experience that I think is really relevant to positions like treasurer. It's meant going back and making sure that I'm balancing a single budget for a family of 4 to the best of my ability, making sure that I'm, refinancing our mortgage to get a better interest rate. It means that I'm looking at how do we invest our money for long term? How are we going to pay for college? How are we going to take care of all of these things? And so while I may not have been building a career for the last 10 years that's traditional, like some may assume, I think that the work of mothers is really underrated, and I think that this is an opportunity for me to let that experience sort of shine through. And it also gives me an opportunity to show my children how important it is to invest in our communities and to do the work. And one of my proudest moments, my son just started 5th grade. Transitioning to middle school we knew was going to be a massive challenge, but he came to me and he said, "Middle school isn't so bad because you inspired me to run for student governor." So he's going to be, oh, did I lose you?
I didn't do that.
Okay.
You are out of time.
Okay.
But I'll let you, oh golly.
Well, anyway.
It was charged.
I'll use my mom voice.
Using it for CATV.
Yeah, keep using it for CATV.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Sorry, I'll make this very quick. But I ask for your support on Tuesday so that I can continue to do that work that I love and to inspire my children. And please keep an eye out for the student governor race, because we're going to be out hitting doors and trying to get everybody to support him as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Corinne.
Next up is Mike Cryans, which you may recognize him as a former executive counselor. Thanks, Mike. 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Mike Cryans, and I'm a Hanover resident and a Grafton County resident for some of you younger people for 73 years. So I'm probably like a senior citizen of those running tonight. But when I was thinking about how everybody talked about the joy of running for something, when I first started on the county commission back in 1998, I was the only Democrat in the 8 elected people, and of the legislature, we only had 7 legislators, 4 from Hanover, 2 from Plymouth, 2 from Lebanon and 1 from Plymouth. Think how things have changed. Democrats at the best have now had 23 reps and 4 Republicans. The reason I mention that is that this is amazing to have competition. We usually didn't have anybody running for these positions, and all of a sudden we got 3 people running for this and 3 people running for that. It's pretty remarkable. In 2013, I was called by James Prindle to come down and speak about Ray Burton's death. And the first thing James Prindle said to me is that people often say that Ray Burton loved county government more than he loved being on the executive council. I said, I don't know if he loved it anymore, but he certainly didn't love it any less. And after 19 years serving on the county commission, in 2 years as an executive counselor, I found both those wonderful jobs. While I was on the commission, we built a lot of buildings. We built a new jail that replaced a jail that was over 100 years old. We put an addition on the nursing home for 60 new beds. We built a water tower because we had a fire at the jail and we wanted to make sure no one died from a problem there. And we also built a biomass plant. And so I would love to go back to county government. I think it's a wonderful experience. I was a banker. Hopefully that experience will help me. Governor Shaheen put me on the College Tuition Savings Board, and this is hard to believe, but I made it through Shaheen, Benson, Lynch, Hassan, and finally when I was on the executive council, even though Chris Sununu even kept me on, I had to step down. So for all those reasons, I'd love to come back. I ask for your vote. I promise you I will do my very best to be a great treasurer, because I think the money that we get from the taxpayers should be invested very wisely, and I look forward to serving in that capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And our last candidate for treasurer is Jason Ninos. Jason.
Thank you. All right, my goal is to not make you get any more steps. So my name is Jason Ninos. I'm the new kid in the block. I moved to New Hampshire in 2019, right before the craziness of COVID happened, originally from Arizona. In my past life, I was a K-12 teacher, so it's really great to have fellow K-12 teachers or close to being teachers in the room. And I currently teach at Plymouth State as an adjunct history instructor, teaching a class called The Deep Roots of Black Lives Matter. And one of the things I always tell my students is, if you want change, you need to get involved. And so this is me getting involved in another capacity. I'm currently involved in my town in Plymouth. I'm on the planning board, I'm on the energy commission, and I'm also a Cub Scout dad. So I do a lot of things to get involved, and this is the next way I want to try to get involved. When I wasn't a K-12 teacher, I've worked in academic technology, and so I want to put my experience of working with vendors and negotiating contracts to use here as a treasurer to keep track of your funds, to try to build new buildings or make sure our buildings are maintained and get those best interest rates out of the funds that we get from the towns. So that's why I ask for your support. Thank you, and hope to see you all at the polls on September 10th.
So I think we have 2 categories left. Let's see.
We do.
Okay. So I think the second to last category is going to be congressional candidates. So I see we have Maggie Goodlander in the House, and Colin Von Ostrin is here, so that's great. And by order of previous designation, do you remember who was supposed to go first? I'm so sorry.
Let's
do ladies first.
No, because usually ladies go first. Well, who would you prefer to have go first? I'm not asking you. What? We'll let Maggie go first because she got here first. So that sounds like a really reasonable way of deciding it. And I just want to say that we are not giving them 1 minute of time to speak. We are giving them, 12 minutes of time to speak. So we're really pleased to welcome Maggie Goodlander. And if you come over here-ish, you'll be in view of our recorded on Zoom.
Wonderful.
There.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be with you all tonight. Thank you so much for having me. Growing up in New Hampshire, you learn how to grill a candidate before you learn how to grill a hot dog. And I hope we'll have a chance to have a conversation because this is my 120th day on the campaign trail. And it's been one of the most energizing and optimistic experiences I've ever had, really because of the conversations and hearing what's on your mind. So I hope we'll have time to do that when this all wraps up. And I won't be 12 minutes, I promise. But I will tell you who I am and what brings me to this race, for those of you I don't know. And tonight I can begin at the beginning. I was born on Election Day in Nashua. And my mom, Betty, who's here with us tonight, she went into labor, and she went directly to Broad Street Elementary School to vote before she went to St. Joe's Hospital to give birth to me. And that is the spirit in which I was raised. When I was 2 years old, my mom ran for the seat, and her opponent had some help from a man named Roger Stone, who you've probably read about in federal criminal indictments and other such documents, but he had a way with words occasionally, and her opponent's slogan was, "A woman's place is in the home, not in the house." And that was a winning slogan in 1988. But my mom raised me to believe, as I do, that a woman's place is absolutely in the United States House. And you know what? It's amazing to see more clearly than ever before that a woman's place is also in the White House, and we've got to get that done on November 5th. 60 days to go. We got to get it done. You know, New Hampshire made me who I am today. I'm born and raised. From my living room today, I can see the shoe factory where my great-grandfather worked, and I can also see the hospital where I was born after my mom voted, of course. I became a lawyer by training here, but I became an advocate in my heart, fighting on the front lines of the right from which all of our rights flow, and that's the right to vote. And we've got to vote on September 10th and November 5th like our lives depend on it, because they do. I have worked in our family courts, in our drug courts here in New Hampshire, and I've taught constitutional law just right over down the road at Dartmouth. I've loved doing that. I've loved teaching the Constitution at Dartmouth and at UNH Law. And I encourage you all, if you're doom scrolling in the next 60 days, just pick up your copy of the Constitution. It only takes 30 minutes to read. It was written for all of us, and it's on the line in November. I'll just say a brief word about the three things that I hear about. For a small state, the 2nd District is a really big one. It's more than 6,500 square miles, from my hometown, Nashua, all the way up to the North Country. And everywhere I've gone in the last 120 days, I hear every day about the concerns around our democracy, around fairness, and freedom itself, which is on the ballot. You know, when it comes to our democracy, I believe deep in my bones that no politician is above the law. And that's why I was really proud to be a part of the team of constitutional lawyers and investigators. We came together and we impeached former president, now convicted felon Donald Trump for the first time. And it wasn't the last time. Day 3 on this job is January 6th. And I come to this race with the belief that there's really no time for a learning curve. We gotta be ready to go on day 1, and we gotta make sure that we see the peaceful transfer of power in this country. I believe equally that no justice is above the law. And when you read the Constitution, it makes clear that the justices of the Supreme Court get to keep their jobs on a condition, a very clear condition. That's good behavior. We've seen a heck of a lot of bad behavior from the United States Supreme Court justices in this country, and Congress can do something about that. And I want to be a part of that. You know, I served 11 years as an intelligence officer in the Navy Reserve, and one of the things I learned was how to mute out the noise, how to focus on the mission, how to work with people who I might not agree with on much of anything at all, apart from the mission right in front of us. I think we need more of that spirit in Congress. We got to find ways to work together and to stay focused on the mission, and that's what I want to do out of the gate. Let me say a word about fairness and a word about freedom. We don't talk about fairness enough, but traveling around this district every day, I'm hearing from people who are feeling pain. They're feeling pain when they're at the grocery store trying to buy eggs. The cost of eggs is up 126%. They're feeling pain when they're trying to rent a home or buy a home, get access to life-saving prescription drugs. Prices have never been higher, and neither have corporate profits. And one of the things that I learned working at the Justice Department on the front lines of the fight against one of the reasons why prices are so high across the board, and that is corporate monopolies who have been using the oldest tricks in the book, including price fixing, doing it more efficiently and effectively than ever before. We have federal laws that secure and protect a fair deal for all hardworking people, for everyone in this country. But hardworking people are getting crushed, and life has been made harder because of these corporate practices. And what I saw working at the Justice Department is that the laws that Congress wrote more than a century ago to protect competition and to protect consumers and to protect workers and small businesses. Many of these laws haven't been updated in more than a century. And I want to take this fight to Congress because I believe we can and must show that our democracy can deliver and deliver specifically a fair deal for all of us. So let me end with a word on freedom, because it's on the ballot, and here we are on the Live Free or Die state. No one believes in freedom more than we do here in New Hampshire. And freedom is on the line. Last week, we marked 104 years since we got the right to vote, since women got the right to vote in this country. And 2 years ago, the Supreme Court turned us back in time, ripped away a fundamental right that is so core to gender equality in this country. And the effects of that decision, the Supreme Court's decision, I was really proud to be a law clerk to Justice Stephen Breyer, who wrote the dissenting opinion the day that decision came down, overturning Roe v. Wade. I think we all remember where we were that day. It was a dark day for this country. I was at the Justice Department helping to stand up a reproductive rights task force dedicated to two simple ideas: that women in this country should get access to the health care we need, and doctors in this country should be able to provide that care without fear of prosecution. But today, too many women are denied access to the health care they need, and doctors are unable to provide that care because they are being prosecuted or they are in fear of being prosecuted. And we're not immune here in New Hampshire. You know, we are the only state in New England without any legal protections for abortion access. Planned Parenthood has been defunded, and earlier this year, a 15-day abortion ban, 15 days. And we've got so many people here tonight who have been on the front lines of the fight. It's midnight in Concord, and you know what? Government is a team sport, and we are gonna need to bring this fight at all levels of government, which is why we've got to win up and down the ballot this fall in November. The path to taking back the People's House runs directly through the 2nd District, and it would be the honor of my lifetime to represent you in Congress. I will work hard, I will work my heart out to earn your vote and to be worthy of the trust that I hope you'll place in me. So thank you for having me tonight, and I look forward to our conversation later on.
Well, this is making it much easier. I don't have to wave my arm in the back or slide up the side of the room. And I'm really pleased to welcome our 2nd congressional district for the 2nd congressional, our 2nd congressional candidate for the 2nd congressional district. And I only learned this past 24 hours that Colin actually was my son's boss when my son worked for the NHDP when he first graduated from college. I had not known that. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit of detail afterwards. And first, let's welcome Colin Van Oosteren.
Thank you. How's everyone doing? Good. All right. Deb, there is a YouTube video that you will get a chance to see later. You probably have seen the skit. Yes. Yeah. Well, I thought I was going to embarrass Jack. I guess not. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I think we have and I see the screen here, so I get to orient myself. I think we have a really important opportunity coming up on Tuesday and then again on November 5th. And that's to elect a New Hampshire leader who's in it for us. That's, for me, what this race is about. There are thousands of really important jobs in Washington and thousands of really powerful people. There's one job whose job is to stand up for the people of this district every single day, to understand our lives, to know our communities, to fight hard for us. That's what I've been doing for the last 20, 25 years of my life. I moved to New Hampshire when I was 22 years old. It was the 18th house I ever moved into. There was a lot of moving when I was a kid. I worked in politics for about 5 years, mainly in my mid-20s, helped get people like Jean Shaheen and Annie Custer elected. And by my late 20s, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life except be with my wife, Kristen. And she enrolled in business school about 3 blocks from here, well, 6 blocks from here. And so I moved up to Hanover to be with her. And I worked at the college for a while. I worked in the kitchen at the canoe club for a while. I missed the canoe club. I miss the cheeseburgers at the Canoe Club. The truth is that after moving constantly as a kid, what I found is this is the first and only home that I've ever known, and it's incredibly special to me. I've now spent the last 20, 25 years of my life leading our private sector businesses, representing 49 cities and towns on the state executive council, volunteering for our nonprofits, and both not just on boards, but also things like coaching my kids' 4th grade basketball team at Concord Parks and Rec. This is how you build a life in New Hampshire. And I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity, never having had a home until I've been here. I always, it's like right now I have Mike and Karen sitting next to each other, so I have this joke that I've been using, and I feel really bad when they're both right here, but it's true, it's a true fact. No one ever dreams of being an executive counselor when you grow up. But I remember the month in June of 2011 when the Executive Council shut off funding for birth control and cancer screenings and annual exams in our state. I knew how important it was to stand up and fight. I ran for office, ran the same year Chris Pappas ran. We got elected. Turns out elections have consequences. We got Planned Parenthood funding restored. It had to happen twice. We got it restored again. This is also when, some folks may remember, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the Affordable Care Act couldn't be implemented the way President Obama had written it, and that it would be up to every state to decide whether and how to expand Medicaid or not. It was a hard fight to get this done. It took a lot of work from a lot of other people. Maggie Hassan, who had just been elected governor that same year, was an extraordinary leader on this. And it finally came down to a 3-2 vote, and by odd quirk of history and fate, it actually happened at the Hanover Inn. The Executive Council holds a field hearing in each district every summer. And in September of 2014, the field hearing was at the Hanover Inn. We held the council meeting there. Big debate, tough debate. Finally came down to a 3-2 vote. By that single vote, and for anyone here who's ever wondering, is it worth going door to door this weekend? Is it worth making phone calls? Do I really need to hold signs up in the polls? By a single vote on the Executive Council 10 years ago, 100,000 people in our state got cheaper, better health care. And that includes addiction treatment services. It includes behavioral and mental health care. I have seen firsthand how elections have consequences. And these issues are deeply personal to me. When you grow up the way I grew up, you know what it's like to live without health insurance. You know what it's like to feel like you're one really bad sickness or a broken leg away from losing everything. You know what it's like to be crushed by student debt. I put my senior year of college on a credit card. $30,000 of tuition on a credit card after I ran out of student loans. These fights are deeply personal for me. And if my guess is this is a pretty educated group, so you probably know all about Project 2025.
Yep.
Project 2025 is a blueprint for what Republicans are going to try and push in Congress next year, no matter who our next president is. And it includes things like government-monitored pregnancy, things like restricting access to birth control and IVF, things like completely dismantling the Affordable Care Act that we fought so hard for. These issues that so many of us have been fighting for years, and the truth is it's not enough to just say what we're against in this election. We also have to paint a clear picture for voters about what we are for, what Congress can do. So here are some specific things that we can get done in the next 2 years. One, we can pass and we must pass a national law to protect our full range of reproductive rights. That means birth control and IVF and abortion access no matter where you live. We're going to get it done in the next 2 years. And two, we can't explain to people with statistics that they should feel better about the economy. We need to recognize that, in fact, housing prices are up in New Hampshire, that many people can't get a kid off a child care wait list for months and months and months, that health care and higher education costs are out of control, and we need to do something about it. We need to repeal the Trump tax cuts for the very wealthiest, very biggest corporations. We need to invest in the money in things like getting back to balanced budgets or in that direction, lowering interest rates, passing universal pre-K so we expand access to early childhood and education in this country, adding a public option to the Affordable Care Act so we're strengthening it, not weakening it. These are the things we can get done in the next 2 years. But doing that requires that we have leaders who really understand our lives. I remember that vote at the Hanover Inn, and I had two images in my mind as it was happening. And the reason I fought as hard as I did is because I knew what it was like to go without health insurance myself. And because I had met a young man named Dante in a church basement in Keene who had told me what it was like to go from pills to worse. And he told me what it was like to go from sleeping on friends' couches to not even having a place to sleep. And he told me that in Keene there were no recovery beds at all at that time. And I knew that one of the reasons we had to fight so hard was because behavioral and mental health care and addiction treatment services were integral to expanding Medicaid in our state. We deserve leaders who are going to fight that hard for us. So let me close with this. We're at a time of choosing. I'm here to ask for your vote and your support on Tuesday and again in November. And I want to be really clear about some of the things that set me apart in this race. One, that knowledge that our congressional delegation has, that passion that they have for understanding our lives and our community, it is precious and we cannot afford to lose it. For the last 20, 25 years of my life, this is what I've been doing, building a life here, fighting for the people of our state, and I know deeply how important it is to have representatives in Congress doing exactly that. Two, I'm really proud about this sort of campaign that we're building. Particularly proud given what we've seen in the last few weeks. Is anyone ready for the primary to get here? And I'm not just talking about my race. You see it in the governor's race. You see a level, unfortunately, of negativity that we've never seen in a Democratic primary before. The first television attack ads against a Democrat in a state primary history in New Hampshire started last month against me in this race. $1 million of dark money coming into our state to spread lies and false attacks. So false that, you know the group End Citizens United, a nonprofit watchdog group, they had to step in to set the record straight the day after those attacks started. We're building a different kind of campaign. Endorsed not just by Annie Custer, which I'm proud of, but every Democratic mayor in this district, every single labor union that has weighed in this race, the vast majority of the money we have raised is people right here in New Hampshire, and 71 state representatives and state senators are helping us get out the vote on Tuesday. I'm proud of running a grassroots campaign. It's one of the things that sets me apart in this race. And the last thing I'll say is this: if you care about the things all of us are talking about tonight, protecting reproductive rights, expanding access to health care, lowering higher education costs, expanding child care access, fighting against Project 2025, protecting our democracy. Part of what you're hiring for is for someone to go win in November. This is a purple place. More independents in this district than Democrats or Republicans. Don't let anyone tell you this is easy. I know Annie has made it look easy. The truth is, before her, no Democrat held this seat for more than 1 or 2 terms going back 150 years. I'm the only Democrat in the state of New Hampshire, outside of our past members of Congress and governor, who has ever won this exact district before. I did it in a tough year, in a tough race against a tough opponent, Chris Sununu. I know what it takes to do it, and it takes building a grassroots campaign. So if these things are important to you, if you're looking for a New Hampshire leader who's in it for us, I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for your support getting out the vote on Tuesday and again on November 10th for Democrats, or November 5th, thank you, Mary, for Democrats all up and down the ticket. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Colin. Some world-class candidates. Thank you so much to both of you, Maggie and Colin. And our last group tonight for the candidates here, excuse me, it's for the Grafton County Register of Deeds, and by order of earlier designation, we are asking Terry Grimes to join us. And Terry, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm wearing a mask. I didn't feel well yesterday. I just wanted to make sure everybody here is protected. So I'm Terry Grimes. I am running for Register of Deeds in Grafton County. I have been a Grafton County resident for, well, I'm 55 years old, almost 56, and I have been a Grafton County resident most of my life. I did move away for 10 years. I grew up here. I raised my kids here. I brought them back, my son back from North Carolina when I was down there to raise him in the county and around family. And he still lives here. He'll never move. So the reason we came back, first of all, I miss home. You know, when you travel the country, it's open, it's vast, the sky is beautiful. When you come back here and you drive up that highway and the mountains close in on you and the beauty happens, you can't get that anywhere else. So we're here. My husband and I are here. The other reason we came back, we were already in Maine, circling around on our trip. And he got sick again with cancer, as we spoke to Mike one time about. So we had that treated here at Dartmouth. Why wouldn't we come to the best facility? I've worked in healthcare for 30 years. 18 were at Dartmouth in the respiratory care department. And I moved my way up through that whole system as high as I could go in the moment, because my director wasn't ready to move up. And so for me to move up, I needed to get out and explore the country a little more. And I did. I became a sales manager for a respiratory medical device company, the very same pieces we put into our ventilator circuits. What an honor that is, to have that opportunity. I was able to sell their devices to Hong Kong Fire Department. An email kept coming in, and it kept looking like spam, and they ignored it for 2 years. And so I just called the fire department. I called Hong Kong, and their office is not in Hong Kong, and there were plenty of people I could speak to. And so what I was able to do was secure a contract with them for these medical devices, and they still have shipments going, constantly being flown in. So funny, the Coast Guard, their Coast Guard wanted those devices. They wanted 2 little boxes. And I said, call the fire department. They have pallets of what you want. So just a little background on that. I worked as a respiratory manager. I worked as a safety officer and a lab manager, all for the same facility. It was a 3-tiered job. Being safety officer of a facility at 1 minute is no small task to make sure the facility is safe. We have an egress, which we only had 1 elevator and 2 stairwells. That's it on a 2nd floor for a critical hospital, and we had ventilator patients. So we wanted to make it safe, keep it safe. So what I can bring is, and you can go to my website. You know, you can see all my accolades. You'll see the blogs I've been writing to kind of give a background on my history. So just with that, please, I'm just losing my thoughts, I've been sick. So with that, please just go to my website. I have an extensive experience in managing with people, having staff anywhere from 1 to which 1 wrote a testimonial, up to Children's Hospital Orange County was my largest facility I was able to supervise. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and hope to I'll answer questions later.
Thank you, Terry. And our last candidate for this race is current incumbent Kelly Moynihan.
Thank you all. I've been a known entity out here for 14 years. I wanted to talk about something different. I'm full-time employed, so I wrote this afternoon. I want to talk about playing for a team and my family. My mother passed during COVID, and I'm finally free to speak. My grandfather, the vice president of Cumming Diesel Railroad in Hartford, Connecticut, kissed my 5-year-old princess of a mother goodnight and had a massive heart attack and dropped dead at the foot of her bed. She stepped over him to get to her mother. That woman sat in silence in a chair for 3 days and then got up and went to work. She had 4 children under the age of 7. My Uncle Mo, my mother's oldest brother, taught me 90% of what I know about playing team sports. Raised by extended family, my Uncle Mo went on to be a star athlete at Manchester High School in Manchester, Connecticut, the same excellent high school that we all graduated from. My hometown invested heavily in public education. Latin, botany, psychology, you name it, they offered it. He went then on to be honored at UConn as a 3-star athlete, excelling in soccer, basketball, and baseball. He was then drafted by the Chicago Cubs, finished his career as teacher and coach and mentor for the Gilbert School in Winsted, Connecticut. Our town founded the Manchester Sports Hall of Fame with my uncle as their first inductee. Team sports. Number 1, you know the rules and you play the game all by the same rules. Number 2, everyone knows their positions and their role, and they do their jobs. Boundaries are crossed in mutual cooperation. My sister, with a heck of an arm, pitched and played center field. I played second base, as I could be everywhere with my eyes on everything. We were undefeated for 4, maybe 5 years until we all grew up and out. Number 4, if there are dysfunctional players or nonsense, those players get traded right away. Number 5, you shake hands with the losers. Stories of my family history and genealogy will be available on my website at kellymonahan.com this weekend. I could be the daughter of the American Revolution 4 different ways. The misinformation spread about my office all summer has been very hurtful and painful to 3 women, 3 professionals who I love and respect very much and share their love and respect in return. My opponent is right about one thing. We desperately need change in Grafton County. I have been the victim of character assassination for over 6 years. I have 4 department heads whose early retirement or dismissal I'll be seeking as we move ahead to their reappointments in January. An election in Plymouth will take care of one elected official who has been proven to be reckless and harmful. It is my intention to ask the Attorney General's Office of Public Integrity to investigate and remove another elected official, and some of my justifications for that will be on my website by Sunday. That complaint to the Attorney General is hundreds of pages long. I'm incredibly allergic to liars and will not turn the other cheek for one more second because I was raised to be a lady, and I have sympathy for those who lack substance, integrity, or ethics. What I want from this election is the greater good for all people of Grafton County, newcomers, old-timers. We must learn to coexist. Flatlanders are here to stay. We love our homes too.
Thank you.
I believe in every fiber of my being that I am the greater good for this office.
Your time is up. Thank you.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Thank you. I'm really pleased that this brings to an end our formal part of our program. We have wonderful desserts, none of them made by me. I am proud to say, nope, I brought apples. And you're welcome to have one if you'd like. But at any rate, what we would like to do is welcome you to have some dessert. We've got water, wonderful beverage. We've put signs up sort of around the room. They're not sort of, they are around the room. And you can get some dessert and then go have a chat with the various candidates who are here. Ask your questions. We look forward to seeing you all at the polls on Tuesday, and we thank you very much for coming this evening, particularly the candidates who gave their time. Thank you.